Hello students, so in the previous class we studied about different parts of the plant, especially the leaf. We saw how plants prepare their food, what are the ingredients required for their food. We also learnt about plants that cannot prepare their own food. So today we will begin with the second chapter, that is plants and their adaptations. Now, plants grow everywhere, be it deserts, mountains, snowy areas, marshy lands, or even under water, right? So, to survive in these different areas, plants have to bring about some changes in them. Uh, to adjust to the climatic conditions or to their surroundings, the plants have to incorporate some changes to survive in those areas. Okay, like in the previous class, I had given you an example of cactus. Cactus has modified its leaves into spikes. Why? Because it grows in dry and sandy areas like desert, where water availability is very less. So evaporate to avoid evaporation or loss of water from the plant has converted its leaves into spikes. Such changes that are brought about by any organism to live or to adjust with its surrounding, they are called as adaptations. So what are adaptations? The changes an organism brings about in itself to adjust to the climatic conditions in order to survive, in order to live over there. Now, the place where an organism lives is called a or is called their habitat. Okay, just like how you and I have homes, similarly all organisms have their respective homes, which we call as habitat. So what are habitats? Habitats are places where an organism lives. It is a place where the organism will be provided with everything essential uh, for its growth, for its living. Okay, so just like how in a house we have everything that is important to make our life better, similarly in plant lives also and in animals lives also, they have their habitat which provides them with proper conditions to live and grow in, like food, weather, climatic conditions, water, etc. Understood? So habitats can be as big as a jungle, or it can be as small as a pond in your garden, an artificial pond in your garden. Okay. So today we are going to since we are beginning with the second chapter, that is plant and its adaptations. Uh, Plants have been divided into two types, that is land plants or water plants. Also known as land plants are also known as terrestrial plants, and water plants are also known as aquatic plants. By the name you can guess or you will be able to make out that land or terrestrial plants grow on land, whereas aquatic or water plants will be growing inside or on water. Today we will be learning about aquatic or water plants. Now, as I told you earlier, by the name only you can guess that these plants either grow inside water or on water, on the surface of the water. Okay, so before we start to study them in detail, you should know that there are two types of water resources. One is salt water resources, whereas the other one is freshwater resources. So resources of salt water are oceans and seas, and that of fresh water are rivers, lakes, ponds, streams, etc. Okay, now you should know that organisms, be it animals or plants that live in salt water, will find it difficult to live in fresh water and vice versa. Okay. So, water plants have been divided into three types, that is floating plants, fixed plants, and underwater plants. These are the three types of water or aquatic plants. Okay, so we'll study about each type and their characteristic one by one. First is your floating plants. When you hear floating plants, the first thing that should come into your mind is the word float. Okay, these plants float on the surface of water. This is how they appear. Okay, so the roots are floating in the water, the leaves are floating on the surface of the water. Okay, the roots are loose and hanging. They are not fixed to the surface of the water body. Clear? So when you hear floating plants, the first thing that should come into your mind is the word float, that these plants float on the surface of water. Some examples of floating plants are duckweed. These are one of the smallest plants, and on from when you look at them from top, okay, they appear like this, and under the water they appear like this. They cover the surface of the water. Okay, this green part that you see over here, that is covering the surface of the water, that is duckweed. We can see them in ponds and lakes, and they often grow in stagnant water. So this is a picture of a large lake that has been entirely covered with duckweed, and you can see it looks like a green lush playground. Yes, but this is actually duckweed that has covered the entire surface of the water body. Now children, when you hear the word weed, okay, this word means that that plant is going to harm either other plants around it or other living beings or organisms around it. Okay, now how does it harm? I will tell you in some time. Another example of floating plant is pistia or water lettuce, also known as water cabbage. Now why is it called so? Because it appears like lettuce that we eat. Usually we have these lettuce leaves in sandwiches and hamburgers. Yes, so you can see how its roots are floating, and from top it will look like this. Another example of floating plants is water hyacinth, also known as the weed from hell. Now, why is it known as the weed from hell? Because it is such a notorious plant that it multiplies very quickly. Okay, and soon from 1 to 2 plants are able to cover an entire surface of a water body. So what happens is, what I told you earlier, when you hear the word weed, it means that that plant is going to cause harm either to the plants around it or to the organisms, other living organisms around it. So what happens is, when these weed, whether be it duckweed or water hyacinth, covers, now this is a lake in Kenya. Okay, can you see? And it has covered the entire water surface of this lake in Kenya. So inside the lake, obviously there are so many fishes and other organisms that are living, right? So when these weed cover the surface of the water body, light is not able to penetrate inside the water body. Then they also take in a lot of oxygen. So the oxygen level inside the water is decreased, okay, leading to the death of other living beings inside the water. That is why it is known as the weed from hell. Also, these weed plants, that is duckweed and water hyacinth, specially grow in water bodies that are not having clean water. Okay, So that is an indication, their growth is an indication of water not being clean. Okay, so now pay attention to the leaves of this plant. It is very glossy. The reason is that it has a wax coating on top of the leaves, which doesn't allow water to stay on the leaves. Okay, it repels water. So that is one characteristic, that they have glossy leaves. You can see the shine, waxy leaves actually. You can see the shine on them. It looks like they have been polished. Yes, so this waxy coating helps the plant in repelling water. And another characteristic of these floating plants is that they have sponge like body. Okay, this sponge like body, they have many empty spaces. Can you see these spaces? Looks like a sponge, right? So these empty spaces get filled with air, and that is why these plants are able to float on the surface of the water. These tissues, that is the spongy tissues, are also called as aerenchyma. Okay, these spongy tissues will get filled with air and then thus making the plant very light. Now, for example, when you go to a water park, okay, and when you enter the swimming pool, have you seen those air tubes? No matter how heavy you are, if the air tube is filled nicely with air, you will be able to float and you will not drown in the water. Yes, the same thing is happening over here also. The spongy tissues, they have many empty spaces. These spaces get filled with air, thus making the plant very light and therefore helping it to float on the surface of water. Okay, then they have waxy leaves which repels water, and then the roots are not fixed, they are floating and loose and hanging loosely under water. Okay, so when you are asked about floating plants, these are the four things, actually three things and example, that you have to remember. That is, they have spongy tissues, then the upper surface of the leaves, or rather just that the leaves are covered with a waxy coating that help them in repelling water, and the last one is that the roots are not fixed and hang loosely. Examples are duckweed, wolffia, pistia, and water hyacinth. You should at least know two examples of each plant. Okay, two examples as in of floating plants, fixed plants, underwater plants, like that. Two examples of each you should know. Another type of water or aquatic plants is the fixed plants. Now previously we learnt about floating plants, that is the plants are floating on the water, and here by hearing the name fixed plants, you should immediately, it should click inside your mind that fixed means fixed on the surface or rooted on the surface of the water body. That is, their roots are fixed to the ground surface of the water body. Okay, so examples of fixed plants are water lily and lotus. Okay, now these plants, since they are rooted to the surface of, or the ground surface of the water body, you can see how long their stems are. So they have really long stems. Okay, the stems are long and they are like pipes. Have you seen pipes at your home that you use to water plants or for other purposes? So those pipes are hollow from inside, that is, they are empty from inside, and so are the stems of these fixed plants. Why? Because because if they are heavy, they will pull down the leaves inside the water. And these plants have stomata on this surface of the leaves, the surface that is facing upwards or that is outside the water body. That part of the leaf has stomata, and stomata is necessary for exchange of gases, that is breathing. Yes, and indirectly also necessary for photosynthesis, because without exchange of gases photosynthesis cannot take place. Yes, remember, water and carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. So to prepare their food, these leaves have to be outside the water because the stomata is on the top part or the upper part of the leaves. So that is why the stems are long, thin, uh, hollow from inside, and since they are hollow from inside, again this empty space gets filled with air, thus making it light. The stems are also very flexible, and you can see that one of them is even bending. Actually, three of them are bending depending on the direction of water flow. Okay, so they are very flexible, they are thin, long, and hollow from inside. Just like floating plants, even the leaves of these plants are also having a waxy coating on top of them, which helps them in repelling water. So that waxy coating does not allow water to collect on top of the leaves, and immediately it sheds off the water that has come on top of the leaves. And when the water is repelled, the dirt on the leaves is also removed. Okay, so this is also a way of cleansing the leaves from dirt. Okay, so they have a waxy coating. Similarly, you can see here, these are the stems. When they are cut, they look like this. So you can see that they have hollow, they have spaces in between them. Yes, these spaces will get filled with air, thus making the stem very light and allowing the leaves of the plant to float on top of the surface. Why? Because the stomata is on the upper side of the leaf, and it is necessary for exchange of gases and photosynthesis. Okay, so these are the points to remember under fixed plants, that roots are fixed to the bottom of the water body. Then they have long, thin, hollow, flexible and light stems. Okay, they have broad leaves that float on water and repel water. Stomata are present on the upper side of the leaf, and examples are water lily and lotus. Now we come to the last and third type of aquatic or water plants, that is underwater plants. Now by underwater, again it should click immediately to you that underwater means under the water, inside the water. Okay, that is, these plants do not rise up above the surface of the water. Okay, they remain inside the water. So this is Vallisneria, usually found in rivers and flowing water, or like streams and rivers, etc. They are attached to the ground, that is, they are fixed to the ground. Okay, and you can see that they have long ribbon like leaves. Yes, you can see them in, if you have ever gone for boating in Gauri Ghat. See, it looks like this. So they have long, thin leaves, okay, narrow leaves, which are also very light, okay, and they bend with the flow of, in the direction of the flow of water. See, if it doesn't bend and the flow is very strong, then there are chances that the plant will get unrooted and then it will die. Okay, so that is why it has thin, narrow, ribbon like, very light leaves that bend with the flow of water. Another example of underwater plants is turtle grass. Here also you can see the same thing. They are rooted to the ground, that is the surface of the water body, and mostly these are found in salt water. You can see that they also have ribbon like thin narrow leaves, okay, and they are also very light such that they can sway along with the flow of water. Another example of underwater plants is eelgrass. Eelgrass is a type of grass found in that grows inside water bodies. Now this plant is very important. Why? Because its growth shows that the water is very, very clean and pollution free. Okay, so its growth is really is an indication that the water is very clean. Also it provides, or it acts, actually all underwater plants act as a habitat for these small fishes. Okay, now I just want you to hear me very carefully, that these underwater plants, okay, I'm repeating, underwater plants, all right, all underwater plants, they do not have stomata. Okay, so their entire surface breathes or respires for them. That is, this entire surface, okay, be it the stem, be it the leaves, everything in that plant will respire. So exchange of gases actually takes place uh, by these parts of the plant absorb water. Okay, these parts of the plant, that is the entire surface of the plant, will absorb water. Now water, inside the water there is a mixture of gases. Okay, so whichever gas is required, okay, that the plant will absorb and let out the rest. Understood? So just like how other plants that are on land and other animals and organisms that are on land breathe in air, okay, these underwater plants just absorb or dissolve water, and from that they take in the necessary amount of oxygen or carbon dioxide, whatever is required, and then after that they give it out. So when they are respiring, that is when they are breathing, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. But during photosynthesis, they will take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Clear? So these underwater plants also provide a habitat to the small fishes, and they also act as a protection for these small fishes from the big fishes. Okay, they protect the small fishes from the big fishes. You can see the pipefish hiding inside these aquatic underwater plants. Now another reason why these aquatic plants, yes, are important is that they help in the reproduction of the fishes. They actually save the eggs of the fishes from being flown away along with the flow of water. So what happens is the fishes will go inside these thick bushes or leaves, okay, and then they will lay their eggs on the leaf or in between the leaves. Okay, so in this way these plants help the fishes in reproduction, because one, they save their eggs from being flown away along with the current or the flow of water, and second, they also protect the eggs from being eaten by the other fishes. Okay, so this is what fish eggs stuck on aquatic plants look like. You can see these white dots here and there. It's not very clear because they are very small, but you can still see the white dots. Yes, those white dots are actually eggs of the fish. Okay, so these eggs will remain stuck here till the baby fishes are ready to come out. All right, and that is how they protect the eggs of the fish from, they prevent them from flowing away. Okay, and also protect them from other fishes, from being eaten by the other fishes. Also, these aquatic plants or underwater plants are able to help in maintaining the oxygen level inside the water. Okay, so here are the points that you should remember uh, when you are asked about underwater plants. That is, they remain fully underwater, then they are fixed to the bottom of the water body, they have thin narrow leaves that bend in the direction of the flow, stomata is absent, so the entire plant is responsible for respiring, for breathing, okay, or for exchange of gases. Then they use sunlight that filters through water, they provide support to other water animals. Examples are eelgrass, pondweed, water stargrass, etc. So that was all about water or aquatic plants, children. I hope you have understood. In the next class, we will continue with land or terrestrial plants. In case you have any doubts, please do not hesitate to ask me.